Chapter 1, we get introduced to the great transition, or the transfer of power between men and women, and how the civilization changed. There's the spread of the new religion, and the monarchy is no longer women are in power, and they're like the higher sex.
Mm-hmm.
And we meet Professor Ingleby, and like men have to listen to women. Like the roles are switched. The men are taking care of like the children at home, and the women are the ones like working and
politics and that stuff.
They're the ones in politics and like making decisions in society.
Professor Ingleby, she's like, we find this out later, but like she's kind of like the resistance or whatever, and she's like reading the Gazette, and the Gazette is talking about like the debate from last night, and the debate from last night, we find out later, was Constance against Parliament. Not really Constance against Parliament, but she was asking for the right to educate men in like public schools, I think, and she kind of like lost that, and she like also lost her position as the Home Secretary. Is that Home Secretary? Home Secretary.
Yeah, that's what it says.
And she lost that position, and as soon as kind of like right after she reads the Gazette or whatever, Constance enters the room, and then Ingleby and her like are discussing the debate the day before, and when they're discussing that, like Ingleby's kind of like frustrated, and Constance like really like kind of mad about it, and tells her to like go home and like read Shakespeare. Was that
Shakespeare? Yeah.
Yeah, and just things like that. So like she can kind of get over it, I guess. That was chapter 1, basically.
Chapter 1, basically.
So in this chapter, chapter 2, we kind of talked about, or we read about how Constance is like, I think they meet at her estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
They meet at Constance's estate, and Edward's there, and we're introduced to Edward. Edward is just kind of like our main, I would call him our main character.
Young guy.
Yeah. He's the young guy, he's kind of the Earl, and like it talks about how his lineage is like, he technically, if the great, is it the Great Change? I forget what it's called again.
Great Transition.
If the Great Transition wouldn't have happened, he would have been like the current king of England.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about, but he's just like not really an average Joe. He's like, they call him like handsome.
The perfect man.
Yeah, he's the perfect man without being the perfect man. Like,
yeah.
He wasn't supposed to like know he's the perfect man.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. And they're talking in there, and then
he wants to marry Constance, and Constance wants to marry him, right? Too.
Yeah.
But the Duchess wants to marry Edward, but Edward doesn't want to marry her because she's old, and I guess it's like normal in their society, but he doesn't want to. He wants to marry Constance, but like the Duchess won't let it happen, and she's like, they have like a meeting, right? Over it, like
it's this chapter 3, yeah.
That's in chapter 3, but
yeah, because like they're like making out and stuff, and he's like, let's just go over there and like declare that we'll get married or something.
Yeah.
Trying to appeal that against the Duchess's case and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of chapter 3. They kind of hop in. They go into like this. They meet with the Chancellor. The Chancellor's like the Prime Minister, the person in charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they have like this like meeting and stuff, and then the Duchess is there, and the Duchess is there to like be like, so can you marry me? And the guy's brought in so he could be like,
no,
I have no option.
Yeah, he like
but
basically
he says he doesn't say no, but what's her name? Constance is Constance is there, and she asked to marry him before the Chancellor says anything about the Duchess or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And says that, and then the Chancellor's like, well, the Duchess kind of beat you to it, and like it would be better if he married her and stuff like that.
Because she's rich.
Because she's richer. Because they're all rich.
Yeah.
She's richer, and she's like of a higher status and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Duchess has had like 3 guys.
Yeah, she had like 3 husbands, and like they all died, I don't know if she killed him. Did she kill him?
It doesn't say if she killed him, but like that's 3 husbands, dude. Like
3 husbands that she killed. So
like,
why would you want to marry her?
Yeah, like this guy's probably like a sketch about that too. And chapter 4 is titled "The Great Duchess." Basically, in this one, it's kind of like part of the master plan that goes on or whatever. That I guess the professor has. It's her master plan. Like, or well, we find out it's her husband's later on, but let's not talk about that. The professor kind of has like the Duke or the Earl. Yeah, his name's the Earl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, has him like has Edward go out in town and like go to like all these public events and stuff like that. And Constance is like trying to get all her people, her political people, to like make it as big as possible.
Yeah, it talks about the lower houses and upper houses.
Yeah,
like the legislators.
Trying to get them to like riled up and stirred up about it, and it's kind of like it's like
a revolution.
Yeah, kind of like oh yeah, kind of like the first kind of like stir in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, like, and it also talks about how like the Duchess isn't liked at all either, especially about the 3 guys that.
Yeah, the 3 husbands that she killed.
Yeah, and then she has a conversation with one of her friends, Julia, I believe.
Julia.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of chapter 4, we get the discussion between Julia and the Duchess of how Julia is basically telling her that she's not going to win the case to get to marry Edward because Edward really doesn't love her. He loves what's her name? Chastance? Constance.
Chanstonance. I swear. Yeah.
Constance. And how like she's an old woman. He doesn't want to marry her because she's 65, and he's what 20, 22.
I don't know. It's 20 or.
It's 20 or 22, but how like he doesn't love her, and she's not gonna win. The people aren't gonna wanna. The people are gonna vote towards the other decision. So, and that basically like ends chapter 4 with their discussion, and the Duchess is upset that basically she's not gonna be able to marry Edward, the perfect man.
She says that to herself, but like towards Julia, she's kind of like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like I'm gonna win."
Yeah, she doesn't admit it to Julia, but and like when she's talking, she basically we can infer that that's what she's thinking.
Yeah.
In chapter 5, we get told like Lord Chester, but it's really Edward. Is that his name?
Yeah, we're like confused about his name.
Yeah, it's like 2 different names for him, but
the Earl of Chester, and then Lord Chester.
Lord Chester and Edward.
Edward, and then just the Earl. And
yeah, that it has a ton of names, but it's like all the he like doesn't go out in public anymore because he's like super popular figure, and like everyone's
he went to like a museum.
Yeah, there was like an art museum looking for stuff.
And he was looking at some of the art and was like, this is all boring. Like, 'cause it's the same stuff that happens yearly. Because, like, it's just, I don't know. Like, it didn't make any sense. He just kept commenting on how, like, this is boring and stuff like that.
Like the history department.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I think it says right here, yeah.
And he said it was boring and stuff like that. And then they ended up going and leaving. Because, like, everyone kept, like, staring at him and stuff like that. He said it was awkward.
Mm-hmm. Like, all the girls are like, yeah, trying to be all over him.
Yeah. And then all the guys were, like, hating and... Because, like, they were, like, jealous. Yeah.
And then at the end, he asked his friend Algie, if they should run away together. And it ends right there. We don't really get a full answer of like if they run away together or not. I'm sure they're gonna tell us in chapter 6. But
I read ahead, so like
I don't know. Yeah. I didn't read ahead. But that's all.
Yeah.
Really. Do you have anything else? Chapter 5.
Apparently he's got an amazing singing voice, which is cool. Like I wish I could sing, so that's a thing.
Yeah, no one had a better voice or sang with greater expression. All of his songs, and it gives a song that he sings. I couldn't tell if that was a poem or a song, but I guess that's the song that he sung or sang. I guess he can play piano too.
Yeah, because it didn't say he was playing piano, but he said he stood up from the piano, which is kind of like I guess he plays piano. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then afterwards, after he sang, it was like he said something along the lines of like it's like it's crazy. Like he said, the air tasted. What was it? The air tasted good, but the words were or something like that.
Yeah, something about the air.
Yeah.
Was like something in the air was nice or something.
Yeah, like he said. I guess he was saying like with a figure of speech that he sang good, but like he hated the words to it. Something like that.
Yeah, that's probably what it was trying to say. That he was good, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm good at singing, but I didn't like the song. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like it was talking about I guess like the whole women being old and marrying young guys, and he says, how could he love someone of that age or older than him?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because he wanted to marry someone that's his age.
Yeah. Well, like, and then everyone was like,
shocked because it was normal to marry someone old.
Yeah. Like, and you don't talk about that stuff in society, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was chapter 5.
5.